Alright, so today we are going to try to see the best way to press a design on the underside of a bill of one of our auto hats. So the first thing that we need to do is actually go ahead and create this design. So I've taken a picture of the hat and kind of flipped it upside down and put it into Corel Draw. This way we can trace the exact shape of the hat and the exact size and make sure that when we create our design, it's going to fit on there perfectly. So what I'm going to do is just take the B-spline tool and just trace around this hat real quick. Now if you want, you can put it in wireframe so you can see the outline a little bit better, but this one it looks like it's going to be pretty easy to get around the outline there. And for me, I really mainly want the gray part of the hat because I'm not going to put any of my design onto the blue in there. Perfect, so now we have just a perfect little shape of the outside of the hat. And honestly, even if you use the same brand cap over and over again, it might be best to just make sure that you do this a few times to make sure that your bill is going to be the exact same size. Because I have seen some that are a little bit differently shaped. So now that I have the shape traced exactly, we want to make sure that the size is exactly the same. So what I've done is actually taken a tape measure and measured from the very tip of the gray here to the tip of the gray here. And I found that that was just a slightly over 7 inches. So what I'm going to do is take a line, just a 2-point line here, and stretch that from the tip to the tip. And we'll make sure that that is exactly 7 inches. So I see here that's 29. That's a bit excessive. So we're going to shrink it down. Should be about a third that size. Let's see. We're still at 18 inches. So we want to get down again just to slightly over 7. And I can even grab this and do 7. We'll do 7.2. Now one thing that I found with these is it is better to be a little bit larger than your cap, just by 0.1 or 0.2 inches, than to be smaller, because you can always fold that press over onto the other side of the bill if you need to. It's better that it's a little bit larger than smaller. It looks like it doesn't fit at all. So that looks like it'll be a perfect size. So now what I've done is I've just taken a design. It's kind of just a random compilation of flowers and leaves and stuff. It's going to be a little bit abstract, and I'm just going to fit this shape onto that area. Actually, what we want to do is actually group this design first. So I'm going to hit Control G, and then we can put our hat on there. That way, all we need to do is take our hat, hold Shift, click on our design, and we can hit the intersect tool here. So now as I drag this away, and I drag my design away, we're all set. So now all I need to do is use the TRW Design Wizard, make those magic templates, and cut this design. So it looks like it's going to be 3 cuts and 3 presses here. And then we're going to move over to the heat press and see what we can determine is the best way. We have a few methods that might work to press onto the bottom of a flat build cap. Alright, so I've already got our design pre-cut and weeded out. What I've actually done is cut it in the shape of the brim of our hat. So now I'm just going to apply it. This is going to be a little bit of a tricky process. In order to apply it, we're actually going to do the same thing that we do when we press any sort of cleat or shoes or anything on here. We're just going to hold it to the very top of the heat press. And with hats, you don't wash them at the same rate as you do something like a t-shirt or anything. So we really don't need to get that much heat and pressure on it. All we're going to do is, of course, be careful with our hands. We're going to press it right on the top of the press there. One thing we can do is use the edges of the heat press here to really get some good pressure. Of course, be careful of your fingers, but use that corner there and really press up on your vinyl. Alright, and all we need to make sure is that we get that design kind of generally applied there. You can see it's not sticking all the way. We're going to have a few more presses to go. So for our second layer, I'm actually going to go ahead and tape this down using the TRW heat tape. That way we know that everything is going to stay in place while we're pressing it up against the press. And we'll just do the same process one more time. Alright, so we've got 2 layers done. We're going to do our very last layer. And again, just to test it out, what we're going to do is we're going to hold it up against the top of the press here, just to tack it on for our first tack. And then we're going to go ahead and lay it down and get some good pressure from the heat press as well. Alright, so I'm going to do one final press just to cover that whole hat and make sure that everything we got on there is going to stick. Alright, so this hat is all finished. It did take a little bit of extra work pressing that manually on the press, but it adds a completely different look to your hats.